Okay, so we're going to start out with doing a warm-up. So what I'd like you to do is go to the warm-up section of your binder. If you got the warm-up papers from me when you were in class, use those. If not, just use some lined paper, write the date. You can use one sheet of paper for several days of warm-ups. Okay, so what I want you to do is in your warm-up section, copy the question and solve, showing your work, not just answers. All right, if you're at home watching this, pause the video, do the questions, and then come back and check your answers. Okay, so at this point, you have done this in your warm-up section and you're checking your answers. All right, so number one, 2x equals negative 40. So when we have 2x, that means 2 times x. So we're going to solve for x by using the opposite of multiplication, right? This is 2 times x, so we're going to divide each side by 2, divide 2, divide 2. So x is going to be, we have negative 40 divided by 2. When we're dividing or multiplying and we have different signs, this is a negative, this is a positive, the answer is negative, so this is going to be negative 20. All right, number two, x plus 10 equals 4. We want to get the x by itself. We have 10 added to x, so to get rid of addition, right, this plus 10, we're going to subtract 10 from each side. And x is going to be 4 minus 10. So when we're subtracting, we have 10 minus 4, which is 6, and then we keep the sign of the larger number. The larger number here is the 10, and its sign is negative, so that's going to be negative 6.
Good morning. Can I have your attention, please? Mia Gonzalez, please report to Ms. Kisner's office. Mia Gonzalez to Ms. Kisner's office. Thank you.
All right, number three, y minus 6 equals negative 1, so we want to get y by itself. We need to move the minus 6. Think of the minus 6 as subtract 6, so we need the opposite of subtract 6, which is add 6 to both sides. All right, so y is going to be negative 1 plus 6. So when we're adding numbers with different signs, we subtract. 6 minus 1, 5, and then we keep the sign of the larger one, which the larger one 6, its sign is positive, so the answer is going to be positive 5. All right, number 4, x, the fraction bar means division, right? So x divided by 3 equals 10. So we need the opposite of divide by 3, which is multiply by 3. So we're going to multiply each side by 3. Right, which the 3's over here are going to cancel out, and x is going to be 30. Okay, so now we're going to get into the lesson, right? So the goal of solving an equation is we want to isolate. Isolate means get by itself, all right? We want to isolate the variable. All right, when we're solving an equation, you always want to get x, y, whatever alone by using inverse, which means opposite operation. So if we have x plus 10 equals 20, we're going to subtract 10 from each side because we have 10 added to x, right? We want to isolate this, so we need to get rid of the plus 10 or add 10 by subtraction, okay? All right, and the steps we need to follow when doing this. Step 1, distributive property, if we have it, all right? To identify a distributive property, of course, we're going to look for parentheses. Okay. Step 2, add or subtract. And step 3 is multiply or divide. All right. For the lesson we're going to do today, we're going to be focusing on these two. We'll see parentheses in the next lesson. Okay. So number one, solve for u. For u, I'm going to rewrite this, plus 13 equals 61. All right, so we want to isolate the variable, and the variable here is u. I'm going to put a circle around it. All right, and we don't have distributed property because we don't have any parentheses in this equation. So we're going to go here, step 2, add or subtract. Well, we have 13 added to both sides, so to get rid of that 13 that's being added, we're going to subtract 13 from each side because we're going to use inverse of addition, which is subtraction. And so 61 minus 13 is 48. So we have 4u equals 48. All right, so now in order to isolate the u, we need to get rid of the 4. The 4 is multiplying u, so we're going to use the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So we're going to divide each side by 4. And that's going to give me u equals 48 divided by 4 is 12. All right, number 2, we have v divided by 4 minus 17 equals 19. Okay. So the variable we need to isolate here is v. All right, and v is being divided by 4, so we're going to get rid of the division, but first we're going to have to get rid of the 17 because if you look at your steps, add or subtract comes first. So we have a minus 17 over here. We're going to move over the minus 17 with a plus 17. So we have v over 4 equals 19 and 17 is 36. Okay. Now we need to get rid of the division by 4, so we're going to multiply each side by 4 because the opposite or inverse of division by 4 is multiplication by 4. Okay. These 4's will cancel out, and we get v equals 36 times 4 is 144. Okay. Number 3, 40 equals 4w minus 16. So on this one, the variable's on the other side, but that doesn't change anything. Same steps, same goal here. So our variable here is w. I like to put a circle around the variable. You don't have to. So refresher for our steps, add or subtract, and then multiply or divide. So in number 3, what can I add or subtract? I can add 16 to both sides because, again, you have to work with what's on the same side as your variable. So we're going to move the 16 to the other side. We get 56 equals 4w. Now we need to get rid of this 4. We're going to divide each side by 4. 56 divided by 4 is 14. And the other side, these will cancel, is equal to w. All right, number 4, 4x minus 8 equals 32. Again, I'm going to put a circle around my variable. Addition or subtraction comes first. Well, what can I add or subtract to both sides? I can add 8 to both sides because we have a subtract 8 with the variable. So 4x equals 40. Now we need to get rid of the 4 with either multiplication or division. Well, we have 4 times x, so we're going to use the opposite of multiplication, which is division. We'll divide each side by 4, and that means x is 10. All right, number 5. 5 is different in a way. It looks different, but it's really not. For each value of v, determine whether it's a solution to 5 minus 4v equals 1. Well, all the equations we solved above had only one answer. So if we solve this equation, we can then look at the table and try to find our answer. Let's do that. Okay, so my variable is over here. So I need to start by either adding or subtracting from both sides. I can get rid of the 5. The 5 is positive, so I'm going to subtract it to get rid of it. So negative 4v equals 12. Now I need to get the v alone, so we're going to divide by negative 4. And v is negative 3. Okay, so if you look at your chart, is it a solution? Well, the only one that's a solution is negative 3. That's going to get a yes, and everything else is going to get a no.